December 11th, 1978. A cargo terminal at John F. Kennedy International Airport. Just after 3 a.m., a black Ford Econoline van pulls up outside Building 261, the Lufthansa air cargo terminal. 6 men in ski masks step out carrying handguns and a set of keys that should not exist. The keys came from inside. A cargo agent named Louis Werner, drowning in gambling debt, had spent months describing the building's routines to a Brooklyn associate named Angelo Seppi. Werner knew the guard rotations. He knew which door led to the cash room. He knew that on the second Monday of every month, Lufthansa's vault held the returns from currency exchanges across Europe, cash nobody could trace. The crew that night worked for Jimmy Burke, a Lucchese associate known on the street as Jimmy the Gent. Burke did not go inside. He never did. He planned from a distance and let other men carry the risk, a habit that would matter later. Inside the terminal, the robbers moved fast. They rounded up the night shift, 9 employees in total, and forced them face down on the floor of a break room. One robber, Tommy DeSimone, held a gun on the group and told them not to look up. Then the crew went for the vault. They knew the combination. Werner had made sure of that. Within minutes, they had loaded duffel bags with over $5 million in unmarked American cash and $875,000 in jewelry, pulled from a separate strong room. At the time, it was the largest cash robbery in American history. It remains one of the largest ever committed on U.S. soil. The entire operation lasted under an hour. By the time Port Authority police arrived, the van was gone and so was the money. Investigators found the getaway vehicle abandoned in a parking lot near the terminal. Wiped clean. No fingerprints. No witnesses willing to talk. What the robbers did not know was that their own crew would become the biggest threat to the operation. Burke had promised each man a share. Instead, he began worrying that the split was too large and that too many mouths meant too much risk. Within months, the men who pulled off the heist started disappearing. Parnell Stephen Edwards found dead in his apartment in January 1979. Martin Krugman, a numbers runner who helped launder some of the cash, vanished the same month and was never seen again. Teresa Ferrara, girlfriend to one of the crew, was found dismembered in New Jersey that May. By the end of the year, at least 8 people connected to the heist were dead, some shot, some simply gone. Federal investigators believed Burke was cleaning house, eliminating anyone who might talk or who he suspected of skimming. The FBI opened one of the largest task forces in its New York history, codenamed Delta, but the killings kept the case unusually quiet. Witnesses who might have cooperated were being buried faster than agents could interview them. The one man who did eventually talk was Henry Hill, a mob associate who had helped plan logistics around the heist, but was not present the night of the robbery. In 1980, facing his own drug charges, Hill entered witness protection and told federal investigators everything he knew about Burke, the Lucchese crime family, and the Lufthansa job. His account became the backbone of the government's case, and later, the basis for the film that made this heist famous. But even with Hill's cooperation, prosecutors ran into a wall. No cash was ever recovered, no jewelry surfaced. The physical evidence, the actual $5 million that vanished that December morning, was never found. Not in a warehouse, not in a storage unit, not buried in a backyard. Investigators believed most of it had been laundered through a jewelry fence named Jimmy Burke had used before, or simply spent, hand-to-hand, cash with no serial numbers and no paper trail. Louis Werner, the inside man, was arrested within weeks. His fingerprints turned up on paperwork tied to the crew, and he was convicted in 1979. He served time but never named every conspirator, and what he did know did little to recover the money. Jimmy Burke was never charged for the Lufthansa robbery itself. Prosecutors could not tie him directly to the scene, only to the string of murders that followed it. In 1982, he was convicted on an unrelated charge, fixing a college basketball game, and separately on the murder of associate Richard Eaton. He was sentenced to 20 years for the murder and never faced trial for Lufthansa. He died in prison in 1996 of lung cancer, having never been convicted for the heist that made him infamous. Tommy DeSimone, the man who held the terminal staff at gunpoint, disappeared in January 1979 and was never found. The FBI believed he was killed on Burke's orders, possibly for the murder of a made man without permission, a violation the Gambino family would not forgive. Over the decades, the statute of limitations passed. By the late 1980s, no one could be charged with the robbery. It